Alright, and welcome to Coordinate Relationships Level 1. Now it says this, given the table below, which of the following is true? And so we have 4 points, point A, point B, point C, and point D. And then if you look at the answer choices, because we want to use a little bit of test-taking strategy here, we actually have two sets of symbols that we want to be aware of. The first one is that we have these two vertical lines, and what I would like for you to do is go to these immediately and label what they mean. So in this case, we know that the two vertical lines mean parallel, and over here, we see that this upside down T actually indicates that the lines are perpendicular, which we can abbreviate as PERP. Now the next thing that you want to do, you want to go through your answer choice and see if you can discern any sort of pattern. So for example, here we have AB is parallel to CD, okay? And here we have AC and BD. So those are completely different sets of lines. Over here we have AD and BC, and those are completely different sets of lines. And then over here we have AB and CB, and maybe I notice, you know what, they actually share this point B, and that's kind of interesting. So that might be useful. Okay, and so then the next thing you want to do is say, okay, well, we have parallel and perpendicular, and that's really going to correspond to one of our three type of coordinate geometries that we use all the time. You know, are we discussing the midpoint? Are we discussing the slope? Or are we discussing the distance? And in this case, hopefully we would know that parallel and perpendicular is talking about the slope, where we know parallel indicates the same slope and perpendicular indicates opposite reciprocals, where you change the sign and flip the fraction. Okay, so how do we want to tackle this? Well, what I would encourage you to do is I would encourage you to take your paper where this assignment is and actually divide this up into 4 quadrants. And up at the top, what you would do is, like, for example, we have AB, so I might write A and B, and then below that I might write that as a point. I might write it as the point 4 comma 3 and parentheses. B is going to be 11 comma 9, and let's label it x1, y1, x2, and y2. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our slope formula. So if you look at your formula chart, you should know that the slope formula is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to do this twice. So we're going to say, okay, let's see here. Y2 in this case is 9, and y1 is 3, so 9 minus 3. And then my x2 value is 11 minus my x1 value, which is 4. And 9 minus 3 is, of course, 6, and 11 minus 4 is, oh, that would be 7. So we have 6 over 7. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to test out CD. So I know, okay, here I'll just write CD right here. We have CD, and point C is at 7 comma 5, and point D is at 5 comma 5. Okay, and let's label it x1, y1, and x2, y2. And let's go ahead and set up this fraction. So we know our y2 value from the formula is 5 minus our y1 value is 5 over our x2 value is 5 minus 7. Wait a second, 5 minus 5 is 0 and 5 minus 7 is negative 2, but 0 divided by anything is just 0. So here I know that my very first slope is equal to 6 over 7, and I know that my second slope is equal to 0, and what this would indicate is that the two lines will intersect, so they are definitely not parallel. Okay, so why don't we go ahead, and since we know what parallel means, let's go ahead and try letter C next. Okay, for letter C, and by the way, you might be thinking, wow, these problems might actually take quite a bit of time, and you're absolutely right. And that's why I actually only put 3 problems per page on this assignment. So you're only going to do 9 problems total today, and I'll actually be working out 1 from each page. So that's going to leave you just 2 to do on your own, because I understand that these can be a little bit time consuming. Okay, so we have AC, and we have, BD as our letter C. And we're going to see if these are parallel. Okay, so let's see, where's letter A at? Letter A is 4 comma 3, and letter C is going to be 7 comma 5. And let's call it x1, y1, x2, y2. And over here for BD, we know that point B is 11, 9, and point D is going to be 5, 5. Okay, let's see what happens once we set this up. So I draw my fraction bar, and I know it's y2 minus y1, so in this case 5 minus 3 over 7 minus 4. And 5 minus 3 is 2, and 7 minus 4 is 3. And over here, let's see what we have. We have 11, oh, I'm sorry, x1, y1, x2, y2. And here we have 5 minus 9 over 5 minus 11. And let's see, 5 minus 9 is negative 4, and 5 minus 11 is negative 6. And so you might be tempted to stop here and say, well, wait a second, these are different. These can't be parallel. But make sure that you actually reduce this, because a negative divided by a negative is actually equal to a positive, and 4 and 6 can both be divided by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. And wait a second, here BD has a slope of 2 over 3, and AC has a slope of 2 over 3. And so since they're the same slope, we know that they are in fact parallel. So C should be our answer. Now what I would like to do is I'd like to test out just B, let's just test out letter B, just to make absolutely sure why that's not the correct answer. And then you can tackle the remainder of this assignment on your own. Okay, I've gone ahead and set up AD and BC. Remember, we're just testing out letter B. And let's go ahead and label this as x1, y1, and x2, y2, and x1, y1, and x2, y2. And then let's use our slope formula. So I know that on top I have y2 minus y1, which will in fact be 5 minus 3 over x2, 5 minus 4, x1. Let's see, what does that equal? Well, 5 minus 3 is 2 over 5 minus 4 is 1. And so that's a slope of 2 over 1. That can't be reduced any further. Okay, over here we should have m is equal to y2 is 5 minus y1 is 9, and x2 is 7 minus x1, which is 11. Let's see, 5 minus 9 is actually going to give us negative 4, and 7 minus 11 is negative 4 as well. And remember, negative 4 over negative 4 will just reduce to m equals 1 over 1. Because a negative divided by negative is a positive. Okay, and so we can see is these are clearly not perpendicular. Now, just to recap, what does it mean to be perpendicular? To be perpendicular to 2 over 1 would mean that you would need a slope of negative 1 over 2. And since that is not negative 1 over 2, we can tell that they are in fact not perpendicular. And I'll just give it away, letter D is not perpendicular either. Alright? So this is what you're going to have to do for the remaining problems 2 and 3, and I'll catch y'all in our level 2 video.